your Thanksgiving was a blessing with friends and family. This is one of several videos I will be doing in this series. To kick off the Home for the Holidays with Bree series will be a couple of DIYs you will see in my home tour at the end of the series. So sit back and enjoy for some tips and ideas to try for your Christmas home decor. For the first DIY, it would be covering a deer in moss. This deer in particular is not the one that I will be using, but to save time, I prepped two deers for this instructions. For this project, you will need a bag of moss that I purchased from Michael's, a can of spray adhesive, some scissors, and some newspaper to protect your surface. So let's get started. First, spray the deer with your desired paint color. Once the paint has dried, spray the deer with the spray adhesive in small portions. This will make it easier to work with when you apply the moss. Take several pieces of moss as you see here. Spread out the fibers for better coverage. Make sure you rid the moss from leaves and twigs. Apply the moss to the deer body one piece at a time, shaping and pressing as you go. Here is a tip. Apply light pressure to adhere the moss to the deer and to shape the moss along the body as you go. This is my first time covering a large area with moss, so this will be a trial and error for me also. Normally I use moss as an ornament, or if you remember my moss balls in my fall DIY. So we will be doing this DIY trial together. After your moss is applied to the deer and is at your desired shape, start cutting shavings off of the deer. Anything that is a strangling piece of fiber that you want to get rid of. Also, as you're cutting, get rid of some of the thickness that you might find along the deer. This thickness will cover up the details in the deer, so you want to get rid of that. Remember, do not cut too much, because if you cut too much, you will start seeing the color and the deer up under the moss. So you want to cut it enough that is shapely and low enough, but not too low that you can see the color coming through. Continue to shape and cut until you get to the desired shape and the details are starting to come through. You should start to see some of the details as you work on the deer. You may start to see some bald spots where the moss has fallen off or you cut too deeply. Just apply some hot glue if needed to these areas and fill in with the moss shavings. The moss shavings will work better in these bald areas because the smaller pieces adhere better than applying large pieces of moss. As you can see underneath the deer, I do not cover, but you can cover if you like. I just don't do it because it would be on a flat surface and you won't be seen anyway. But it doesn't hurt if you like to cover that part. Just use the same technique. As you can see, the other side of the deer needs some work. There's a lot of spots here that I need to cover. So what I would do, I would continue to work on this deer, filling in those spots, and then I will come back and we will continue on to the next step. See you soon. I worked my way up toward the neck. The body is starting to form. you can start to see the creases around the legs and at the elbow in his sitting position. I also need to do some more cutting because there are some hairs that I need to shave off. And the back and the butt areas turned out very nicely. You can start see the little tail and the curve of the neck. Now that we finished with the body, let's start on the head. Now the head has a lot of intricate details, so we will be working with moss shavings. I cut up some moss into small pieces to work with. I find it better to do it this way. Like I said, this is trial and error for me, so as I go through this, I find tips as I go. So anyway, we'll start at the ears, and we're going to cover it finely with the small shavings so the jaw and the inner ear can be seen through the moss. So let's continue. Starting with the ear, we will use small pieces. We'll start at the back of the ear and work our way around, being careful not to apply too much because we don't want to lose the detail. As we start going around the ear into the inner ear, we will start to use finer moss, almost like dust. Just take your time and apply carefully, remembering not to cover too much and also to make sure you cover. As you can see here, the moss is very thin and it works better in the inner ear, as I said. Okay, so here is something I found out doing this. As you're putting the moss on the head, the shavings has a place to go, right? So it goes on the body. So occasionally you're going to have to dump the deer to get the shavings off. So maybe we should start at the head first instead of the body. Trial and error, like I said, I'm learning too. So start at the head first when you start putting the moss on. That way you don't have to worry about the shavings falling on your finished work. Okay, I think you have the idea how I'm going to work the head. So I will continue doing this and finish the head, and then we will come back and see how far I've gotten. Okay, I like the result. It turned out beautifully. There's another thing I've noticed too, that when I use the gold undertones, it shows through a little through the moss, and the details of the curve of the ear or the jaw line. I think I like it that way instead of covering it completely. So these are things that you have to make a decision on as you go. Do you want to cover it all, or do you like the highlights up under the moss? Okay, here is our learning tips. Start at the head first so the shavings won't fall off the body. I was going to leave the antlers the same. I wasn't going to cover in moss, but I am going to paint it silver. And my husband says moss does not go on the antlers, so I am going to buy by his tip. The second tip is use a complementary undertone color when you paint the deer. As you can see, the highlights looks gorgeous up under the moss. So I'm glad that I left the paint on the deer gold because it shows very nicely. I hope you enjoyed this. I really did. This is a great DIY. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment below. I hope you're enjoying this, and I can't wait to do the next one. Have a great, happy holiday, and I will see you on the next video. Smooches.